Hey guys, it's Nanomachines, and there's a little bit of a news update going on. It's not one of my more formal deck profiles or anything like that, but if you checked on the Transformers Trading Card Game Facebook page, you may have seen this image. And that image is one heck of a thing. Now, first off, it shows that we will be getting Wave 3. Now, Wave 3, of course, being in June. Now, of course, June is 3 months away from March, which is, when Wave 2 came out. And, of course, that confirms the 3-month interval that Wizards seems to be planning in terms of release. And that is... that is very exciting for me. Because it shows that, first off, Wizards sees this as a profitable venture. And not only that, but they're going to be keeping with it. I expect us to have at least 2 more sets after Wave 3. I expect us to be at Wave 5 by December. And I'm very, very excited about that. Now, something that I really do want to pose as a question to you is, what gimmick do you think that Wave 3 is going to have? And there's good reason that I'm asking this question, because if you've noticed, the past 2 sets have had a gimmick. Wave 1 was the set came out. the game existed. You have Transformer characters that have flipping. Now we have a new gimmick that is both green pips as well as the mechanics with Brave and all that stuff, but also combiners. There's a gimmick. There's a centralizing component that these sets seem to be forming around. And to be perfectly frank with you, I am very much confused at what they could possibly go with next. They already did combiners, and they have, I believe, Dreadwing as a Duocon, so they could just make more combiners, make more Duocons or something like that. But something that I would actually really like them to explore are Headmasters. Now, Headmasters, if you recall, in the chronology of the Generation 1 Transformers, you started off with the base stuff, and then you moved to the combiners with Devastator, and then Bruticus, and the aerial bots, and so on and so forth. And then you had your large characters like Metroplex, Tripticon, and the Omega Supreme, all them. But we already have all of that. We have just the standard guys, we have combiners, we have the Omega Sentinels, we have Metroplex, and Metroplex and Omega Supreme aren't something that you can just package inside of a set. So, the question I'd like to pose to you is, where else do you go but Headmasters? Now, I remember seeing a little bit of a probe that the developers put out regarding Action Masters. Now, if you remember what Action Masters are, back in late 80s, mid 90s, I believe, it was basically non-transforming Transformers, which kind of, in my opinion, defeats the purpose, but they were asking how we would like to see those come into the game, if we'd like to see them at all. And I think the general consensus was, as long as you make it interesting. Because as long as they just have a blank side, and they just exist and just like super buff, then I kind of feel like they kind of take over the game, because they're just going to be more consistent than everybody else. They're going to be faster as well. Action Masters being asked about mid Rise of the Combiner hype, if I recall correctly, that is, that can only mean that they will not be coming in Wave 3. Wave 3 probably isn't going to have too many spicy things. The only thing I could possibly think of are either Headmasters or Minicons, and that is it. But it's something to keep in mind, at least. I mean, we know, like, we can pretty much guess that we're going to be seeing like the Protectobots, the Technobots, the Seacons, perhaps. We're almost definitely going to be seeing more combiners. But to what extent, who knows? Either way, we'll find out a little more information on April 8th, which begs the question, are they really going to be starting the spoiler train that early? Either way, it's really interesting that they're starting with the spoilers now. But that wasn't the only thing revealed in this image. If you notice, it says two very important things. You got release day, event, and promo, and in-store play support. That is huge. That means Wizards is directly supporting tournaments through both promos as well as maybe even stocking the stores with certain things. I am ecstatic about that. That shows that Wizards sees the profitability as well as the longevity of the Transformers trading card game. And that is incredibly good news for people who are on the fence about getting in, because it's pretty clear from that Wizards does not think the game will die. When you have a new card game, you always sit back and go like, is this thing going to die tomorrow? Because this might die tomorrow. And we're at the 6-month mark of how long Transformers has been out, and it hasn't died yet, so that's pretty good. In fact, it's only grown larger. In fact, like, started off with like 4 people at my weekly get-together, and suddenly there's like 11 people there now, and it's been awesome. It's been awesome to watch it grow. Now, as for the release day event as well as promos, it's interesting that they talked about promos singular. Now, it depends on what it is, but because it is a singular promo card that they're talking about, it means that we're probably not going to be getting reprints of the Comic-Con booster pack. And that's either good news or bad news depending on how many of those cards you own. But a thing that you need to realize is those cards aren't exactly meta-defining. They're good and they're exclusive, but they really get that value from being something that people couldn't really easily get their hands on. And just to put the idea out there, if they were reprinted, I would very much hope that they would be in alternate arts. It would save the value of those cards as well as just boost the value of the reprints, because they would be interesting, they'd be different, and people with the booster packs might want to buy them again just because of the artwork. But in this case, I really don't see those promos being reprinted for this case. I think this is going to be a promo specifically released for Wave 3 that will be something that is either like a triple changer or whatever. Something that is unique to the set that is going to be relevant to it as well. Maybe even the poster child. Who knows? These events are probably going to be held by stores, and I am definitely all for release events being held by stores, but I really hope that they put the in-store play support in the hands of tournament organizers instead of the stores themselves. And that's kind of another discussion, because Pokemon a while back had a glory day, a golden age that I commonly refer to, and it was around like 2007 to 2014, and that 7-year span was a bunch of people playing not at game stores but at restaurants and other random locations like Hobbytown. Those places were the greatest places to grow the game. The game grew so much over those years Like, my father himself, he was a tournament organizer, and we had a league at a McDonald's. And every single week, we filled that place with new players. It was insane. Parents brought in their little kids, and they let them play in the place. Brought in their other kids, and they played. Sometimes they would play. And then, at the end of it, they would buy them food, have dinner, and then leave. It was so impressive, just the rhythm of that. And at a game store, you don't usually get that, and that is something that I have wrestled with the more recent Pokemon changes. But, you know, if they do choose to go full competitive, I really, really hope that they put it in the ballpark of tournament organizers. Especially since tournament organizers kind of take on the costs of the events and then make it back in sales. That right there kind of is easier for the guys at Wizards, because suddenly they're not really forking over a lot of cash like they could, like, provide judge support and product. But, like, other than that, you know, they're not really putting anything on the table there. They're not really needing to risk anything by putting it in tournament organizer plans. So, this is something that I really hope they do. But just in terms of pre-releases and, like, release day, stuff like that, stores, absolutely, run that as much as you can, because that is getting people in, that is getting people to buy the product from your, you know, friendly local game store, you know? Now, speaking about all of those tournaments and organized play, something that is very impressive about this image they put out, even though it was on April 1st, is totally true, is that they have in-store play support planned. And that is, that news right there made my day. That was the best news I have heard for Transformers since the game came out. Since Wave 2 was announced. Since a ton of that. In-store play support means that they are moving to essentially phase 2 of running a game. The Friday Night Magic sort of thing, where every week they have their stores or whatever put a tournament together, and they give them promo cards, and they say, run a tournament. And that right there is utterly fantastic. Now, whether or not that is the exact model they're going to do is beyond me. Who knows? We're going to find out on April 8th. Who knows? But the simple fact that it is coming is fantastic. Now, what it doesn't mean is that they're coming out with larger tournaments like regionals, nationals, worlds. I actually believe that during an interview, I believe with, I don't know about VSI, but like, either way, they, Drew basically said that he didn't want the large tournaments to be sanctioned by Wizards. He basically just said, like, listen, if we were going to do competitive, it would be like Friday Night Magic, and if we were doing anything bigger than that, it would have to be in the hands of larger conventions like PAX or certain things like that. And that's fair. You know, going to conventions, that's fair. I really hope that they rethink that a little bit and, like, maybe actually put a little skin in the game in that regard. But, you know, honestly, any support is good support at this point. Now, another thing about that is it is more evidence to the fact that Transformers is growing and is doing well. A little while back, around early 2000s, late 90s, around early 2000s, Wizards of the Coast used to own Pokemon. They used to put out the Pokemon trading card game. And early 2000s, the game has started to decline, and Magic was on the up and up. It was going hard. And just from a pure numbers perspective, Pokemon wasn't performing as well as Magic, And Wizards said, you know what? Why are we continuing to put this out? So they tried to kill the game. And the Pokemon Company International, TPCI, said, hey, can we maybe have our card game over here? We can have maybe our own Google company that runs that. Wizards was going like, yeah, sure, you can do that. That's totally fine. I'm totally fine with that. I don't want to. So Pokemon became Pokemon, and Wizards went on to do Wizards things. But it shows you how quick they can pull the trigger on something. And because they are putting this much skin in the game, it shows that not only is Transformers doing well, that it's doing well enough to be supported in the future. And that is incredibly good news. But other than that, like, again, there's a lot of speculation that's going on, and I may or may not have just fed into that for about 15 to 20 minutes. But the point that I really wanted to get across was the game is doing very, very well, and I am very excited for the prospects in the future for it. And I guess if we're going to find out any more, I think we have to wait until April 8th. I mean, we probably won't be seeing, like, card spoilers for Wave 3. We probably won't be seeing that. But what we will probably be seeing are outlines for organized play. And that is utterly fantastic. And I hope you enjoyed this. I just kind of threw this together real quick. Didn't want to do some high budget things. But I am really, really excited to see where this thing goes. And if you want to have any more deck profiles, any more news updates like this, please subscribe to my channel with that red icon below. And be sure to hit that bell icon if you want to be notified when my videos go live. And if you'd like to check out my deck profiles, there is my channel down below, which you can check out and view some of my things. So, other than that, I will see you in the next one.